Hi, and welcome to Dipping It Out with Lucy, the podcast that opens up the discussion around domestic abuse. I'm very fortunate, and this is my last episode of 2025. We've been trying on and off, mostly my fault, I believe, of getting this episode going with the wonderful Ebony. Ebony is the force behind Her Haven app, which I will let her explain a bit more about that now. But good morning.
Morning. The sun's out as well. The sun's gone out today. But yeah, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me finally as well. I've also been a bit busy, so it goes both ways.
Yeah. Oh no, you're amazing. And I'm so glad we've got this opportunity because it's so important when we hear about various apps that are out there that we understand a bit more about what is available, why it's there. So could you tell us a bit more about Her Haven app?
Okay, so Her Haven actually came from a safe house environment due to my own relationship. So I was signed off of working with PTSD. Nobody really understood me. I was kind of, in a way categorized as like damaged goods, like with a short-term memory loss. And I felt like, what could I do during my time off that could make a difference without being in like a normal 9 to 5 job and career? So I did create this app. It actually came to me in a dream like nearly a year ago, and I was
Wow.
actually in my relationship at the time, and he said, what a silly idea. But I knew like during this time it was like a sign from the universe. I had to make some sort of safe space for women,
Yeah.
and I would go on TikTok. I'd literally like do abuse awareness. I'd post my own stories, and the comment sections would be filled of women also telling their own stories as well. And I thought there needs to be a safer space for people to, engage with one another, share conversation without like an incel popping up out of nowhere and going,
Mm.
you're in the wrong, victim blaming. Like it had to be somewhere like where women can vent, share stories, get advice. So I kind of turned the TikTok comment section into an app. So it's like a community forum. But on top of that as well, I had to think, how can I kind of expand this into like an educational resource and have like a kind of like in a professional sense, a safe place where people can signpost like organizations, and I'll go on to that like later on, like partnerships and stuff where victims can find us and learn a bit more about abuse in the same sense. So we also have like an educational resources section where I have like volunteers who've also been in abusive relationships, like write articles. I'm always writing myself because I feel like it's such like a healing tool, like
Yeah.
creative. I just absolutely love it. And it helps you process everything as well. And to kind of pass that information on to somebody else who needs it, it's just such a gift, honestly. We also have like a helpline directory as well. So I always found like when I was trying to look for help, I'd be on Google, like typing in where do I go for accommodation, where do I go for this and that. And I felt like it had to be in one place. So I've literally got helplines across the country for like all different organizations, like whether it's anything to do with like sex workers maybe, whether it's like fostering agencies for pets, because obviously like pets stuff
Yeah.
too. I've really tried to touch on everything like substance issues as well. And that goes with the same with like the articles and the educational resources. The thing that's different for Her Haven is that we touch on really taboo, less spoken about abuse, like whether that's like image based abuse or, reproductive coercion, where like abortions are forced upon victims, whether it's like, drugs in a relationship. We also talk about like rape culture as well, with like the everyday like lad banter. We literally touch on
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, I'm trying to like, pick topics from everywhere. I've literally got like a whole list on my phone, and I like write 3 articles a night pretty much.
Hey,
So that's
very
my
therapeutic as well. Very therapeutic.
honestly, it's a good way to process emotions, and it's even like we within the community as well. We've got like a little WhatsApp, so have like Her Haven ambassadors, and we do like events as well where the women can meet in real life. Honestly, so many of them have like made best friends, and they're always like going out together. I mean, it's even helped me during this process. Like I'm going out this weekend with a few of them to Winter Wonderland. So yeah, it's been nice at making friendships through like what is like the hardest time of all of our lives. It's kind of like a positive version of a trauma bond. That's what I always
Yeah.
say it is.
I love that. And
Yeah.
what an amazing, and obviously we'll make sure that Her Haven app is available on Dipcast as well, so you can get all the resources. And that's what's beautiful is with something like that, you've created something that then, say for somebody like me, I can just put that out there, but you've then got all that other information in there, which is amazing. And so when people go and look for resources and things, they can go and have a look at that and see all the different things you've been doing. And what's amazing is, abuse isn't just confined to, when we talk, and I'm sure you know this yourself, when you go and do your talks, is
Yeah.
you walk in a room and people have this idea that you're going to start talking about the physical aspect. So
Yeah.
in their heads, unfortunately, society still sees a bruise as abuse.
Yeah.
Not like you just said about trauma bonding or love bombing or all these coercive control, all these
That's
terms that we hear over and over again.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, breaking down that stigma around what is abuse, we're getting there. We've just been talking about this before we sort of started recording, and we are starting to show up on the radar now. And like you say, more and more people are connecting and coming together in a way that they've never done before.
Yeah.
And, it is, unless you've experienced it, it is, it's inexplainable, isn't it, to people?
Like
It's so hard.
especially like the emotional abuse as well. It's like because it's so hidden, you kind of are made to feel like you're going crazy. And when you've got an abuser constantly telling you like you're a liar, I didn't do this, I wasn't sleeping with somebody else behind your back when they were, and then like constantly like putting your kind of head in like a whirlwind, you feel a
Mm.
bit like, is this like reality or is this not? Like, am I kind of like imagining everything and having other women experience the same? It's such a hidden form of abuse, and like now people speaking about it, it just makes things a lot more like lighter and easier. Especially like coercive control, I feel like that's one of the main topics I do speak about as being a victim of coercive control myself.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just I always say to women, your brain is pretty much like one of the biggest organs of your whole entire body. So even though you can't see it, that's where they're gonna inflict the most pain, because it's the biggest. We need a brain to survive, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
in the brain through coercive control, through emotional abuse, it sometimes could be even more impactful than a direct, hit or a punch. It lasts a lot longer and it takes a while to heal and repair from it. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. And again, from my own experience of working in the charity sector and talking to victims and survivors, that is exactly what they will say is, and especially for those who know both sides of it and have experienced the physical and the emotional and psychological, they'll say the physical, to a certain extent, I can deal with.
Yeah.
The emotional and psychological, that is actually, that's attacking the core of a human being. We're all very complicated.
Your sense of self, your identity,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
everything.
your self-worth, and yeah,
It
yeah,
is like even after I left my well, I've had two back-to-back abusive relationships before the age of 25. That for me, I knew I had to tackle something. I knew,
yeah,
either for me on a personal sense, I can't be in a third one. It's too damaging. But I can't even imagine how many other women out there have had back to backs, and you kind of scared as well to even say about it, because it's like, am I the problem? But I feel like it's a real like epidemic essentially of like violence against women and girls, and we need to kind of like tackle the root cause. But it is coming from a lot younger ages, and that's kind of
yes,
like her behavior as well. I've found like I've kind of drawn in like even like 19-year-olds have like signed up to our community. It's a really young age, and it's just like these men are like being exposed to like a lot of pornography, misogyny, and it's just kind of like spiraling out of control. And I just felt like there had to be a place where women just feel understood, because it's
yeah.
it's scary, it's terrifying. Even the statistics are just like worrying.
Yeah. It is, and like you say, a lot younger people,
Mm.
in their 20s, 30s. We often think of abuse as being in maybe a long-term relationship, so marriage or whatever, in
Yeah.
terms of maybe sort of 10, 15, 20 years. Yes, of course, it happens in those relationships as well. But also, like you say, it happens of course, when you're younger, we're more inexperienced with life, aren't we? We're very vulnerable. We're very open to, when we get older, we get a bit, they say older and wiser. We do
I
get wiser as we
definitely
get older. But yeah, but when we're younger, we are so open to our friendships and our relationships and being there for other people. And I think a lot of the time when, and you've touched on something there that's so important about kind of future abusive relationships. So the
Mhm.
idea that if somebody has been in one abusive relationship, the likelihood is, unless they process everything that's gone on
Is
and understand
on
it, then they are more than likely to be in another abuse,
yeah,
because for them that's normal.
Yeah,
It's normal to be spoken to in that way. It's normal to have somebody treat you like that. And so it is very common for people to, and I would say, and I'm sure you'd agree, is it is definitely not your fault. If you find
yeah,
that you've been in more than one abusive relationship, it is not your fault. It
well,
unfortunately is a case of processing what is abuse,
yeah.
understanding it more, and understanding the tactics that an abuser uses.
Exactly. And like even for me, like I was comparing two different relationships to each other, especially like the time frames as well. Like one I had like love bombing very early on, like within like 3 months it kind of like stopped. And then the other one, the love bombing kind of lasted like maybe a year or so, like way past the point. So I thought I was in a good relationship, and then out of nowhere it just kind of like spiraled. And then I kind of started picking up things along the way of the love bombing that he was doing himself. And it's kind of like, he was abusing me simultaneously with the love bombing, whereas the other one was love bomb, love bomb, love bomb, soulmate, gonna get
Yeah,
married, love at first sight, and then stop. But it's just like even like the timings I was looking out for, and it's like they're completely different people, completely different, tactics are being used. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's frightening, and I think with that, you're right, and sometimes you find in relationships that one ex-partner may come across as, when you maybe start to think, oh God, they were quite possessive, but
yeah,
then a new partner comes along who's also abusive, but disguises that possessiveness as protectiveness. And
exactly.
I'm going to protect you. Oh, that person. And the worst part is spilling our guts to the new partner. We hear this all the time
Yeah,
when we watch victims and survivors on TV or listen to it on the radio, whatever it is, and we hear them talking about, and you tell them everything.
yeah.
You tell this person everything. So then they've got all the ammunition they need to
Well,
throw that back in the
I
future.
I did actually see like a quote the other day, and it literally is this summarized, but it's like telling a man what you've previously been through is like bleeding in front of a shark, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
literally so
I like that.
yes, I've started using it now, but it's like even for me personally as well. Like obviously, I'm like a year nearly out of my relationship, but it's like when I go on to date now, because I'm so open about abuse, it is being very wary about what kind of men you do
Mm.
attract now, and it does filter out the bad ones because they're like, oh, scary, like don't
Yeah,
want to be around her, she's going to expose me. But then you have
yeah,
the other ones as well that are kind of like they're quite, I don't know, like manipulative, like they use your healing process to try and like get somewhere with you. I kind of call them like they have like healing fetishes, like they fetishize like women that are like go through a healing journey, so you do get
yeah. They see them as vulnerable, and yeah, and probably for them easy prey in their minds. But
everything.
actually, what's interesting is, and I've said this previously when I've written blogs and things, is if somebody is worthy of you, they will be patient. They
Yeah,
will be patient with the fact that you are not going to say yes to everything. You
yeah,
are going to have your boundaries, your restrictions on what you're willing to accept, and that's absolutely
yeah,
fine. And there's no issue with that. You're allowed to say no.
yeah,
And a quote that I love this, we're coming up with all these quotes, but my dad has always said about anything, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship, he's always said, don't tell me, show me.
yeah,
And he's lived his life that way, and so he's brought me up to see that, and it's so true. Someone can say anything, but if those words don't marry up with what's being acted
yeah.
out, then
That's
I'm sorry, but no.
Yeah, that's exactly what I look for now. Like even in terms of like workplaces as well, where they overpromise you, like, oh, we're gonna give you all these salaries, these bonuses, and then they end up like throwing a pizza party. It's kind of the same with
Yeah,
like use. Like they literally like they give you everything, oh, we're gonna get engaged in a few months' time. I've got a surprise for you. The surprise was never even real, or like, I'm gonna send you like love letters, like spilling all my love, da, da, da. And then oh, the day after throwing my phone at me again, or like
yeah,
losing head, having a tantrum. It's just like it's overselling, and if somebody's not consistent through actions and
yeah,
giving you the flowers after cheating or after doing something wrong or like abusing you,
yeah.
is like, that's not real love. That is just
No,
manipulation.
it is 100%. And if
Mm.
somebody and the thing is, there are genuinely good men out there. There
Yeah,
are. Yeah, yeah. I promise you. I swear to God, there is no. But there
I'm
are,
dead.
and they do. For a lot of those men, what's sad is they don't understand abuse because they
Yeah.
can't imagine behaving like that.
Mm.
So for some men, and especially if you are in a relationship with somebody and you do start to open up a bit about the abuse, if you feel safe and comfortable to do it, and they are showing signs that they are actually paying attention,
Yeah.
um, then if they genuinely care, they will want to learn more. They'll want to understand what are those triggers. What, why did you jump when I shut the cupboard door? Why do you say sorry when you even just walk past me? And you've done nothing.
Yeah.
They'll want to learn and they'll want to understand because they care and they love you, and they are out there. It's just, yeah, it's sifting through. It's like, when I make the Christmas cake and you got to sift the flour.
Yeah, literally, or have like a cookie and realizing it's got raisins in it instead of like chocolate chips. It's the same disappointment. But it's
I'll
just,
do it. Just
it
got to
is
suck it up and go, okay, well, we're gonna have to sift through the bag. But
exactly.
but knowing and that having that understanding as a base and saying, I am worth more,
Yeah,
I am enough. And I think a lot of the time, a lot of women that I've spoken to feel that it's the first time in their life when they've come out of an abusive relationship where they can focus on them. And then
yeah.
they feel selfish and guilty. And it's like, don't feel
I
selfish. This
feel
is,
it's whole. I love it. I feel like during this time, I've really learned to like actually love myself and pour all of the love that I put into the wrong people back into myself.
yes,
And like now I go to the gym, I've got a personal trainer. It's like even like now I've built like her haven as well. Like I've started studying to become like a therapist or like life coach. I don't know which way I want to go yet.
oh, I like it.
Yeah, literally, and I've like put myself back into like my childhood hobbies, like creating, writing, and it's like all of that was taken away and stripped away from me because I was looking after someone's man child essentially, and I was
Yeah,
literally by their side every single day, and I couldn't even have a normal career. Like I was always, off with him in his job. Like he would be like driving around or whatever, and I'd literally be like, I'll
yeah,
go do that. And it's just like I was literally just ruining my own sense of self to please
yeah,
somebody else. And then
yeah,
if I didn't, it's like I'd have some sort of consequence or like silent treatment or it'd be a tantrum. And
yeah.
it's just like a continuous like cycle. So now it's like realizing I'm enough by myself and whoever wants to come in is an addition to me. I don't need to change anything.
No, that's so true. That is so, so true. And the thing is, all those things in you, that creativity,
Yeah.
wanting to take care of yourself, go to the gym, all those things, they're within you all the time that you're with that person, but it's stifled, it's buried underneath, like you say, their wants and needs.
It is.
And it becomes about, excuse me, it becomes about their way or the highway. So for so
Yeah.
many victims and survivors, it's like, you know what? I don't want another row. I don't want this going any further. Let's just do it your way because that'll make life easier.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that slowly, drip drip effect chips
Hmm.
away at you. And I said something the other day about when we talk about abuse, people sort of have this, well, society at large have this idea that it's a bit like, the films we watch with, I don't know, Sleeping with the Enemy as an example of an abusive
That's
relationship.
about as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and in that couple of hours of that film, we've seen everything from how the abuse starts, etc., to her being able to be free of him, etc. But
Yeah.
that's not real life. It doesn't, it's
Oh,
not done and dusted in 2 hours. This is something that for people goes on year in, year
yeah.
out, day in, day out, minute by minute. And I think if people could understand that element of it, say, try watching that film over and over and over and over again. And sometimes you do feel like you're heading towards freedom, but then
Mm.
they pull you back in. And we
Yeah.
know this is true when you look at the statistics around threatening to kill themselves, threatening to hurt the children or hurt the pets,
Yeah.
besmirch your name and tell everybody that you're lying. All these things, all these threats to
Yeah.
keep you, and you're stuck in that vicious cycle. And again, I still think we're in this position where society doesn't understand saying something like why don't you just leave is so
It's
harmful.
so difficult because I always say as well, leaving an abusive relationship, it doesn't stop the abuse. The abuse changes form. It changes in different directions. Like I've experienced smear campaigns, abuse by proxy, which is when they like basically get people on their side, the enablers, like the monster-in-law, or like
Oh
or
yes, there's a few of those out there.
or like the new supply or like their lads. and they will literally like create a gang, and that's why it's so important to have a sense of community as like a survivor, because these abusers already have a community and they are already feeding lies whilst you're still with them to create a narrative for when you are ready to leave. Like their side already think, oh, this is true because he's already planted the seeds a whole entire year ago. But it's like it changes form, and then you have these people like monitoring you as well, and like assisting the perpetrator. Oh, she's doing this. Oh, she's here. It's kind of like gang stalking essentially, or like you have like the online harassment, the fake accounts. Honestly, I had those for a very, very long time, and it's like they poke and they poke and they poke and they try and like get a reaction out of you. Oh, here's the reaction. She's crazy, and it's just like a continuous loop. So it's not as simple as like, oh, part ways, see you later. That's a normal like clean breakup.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It's like it just changes form because they don't have control over you anymore. So they try and grasp at any single thing to still have control over you, and even like weaponizing the law as well, like Darvo tactics, like we were saying, like they will manipulate. They think they're above the law, so they will manipulate any sort of system where there are unfortunately like loopholes and misogynistic like failures and stuff like that, because they can still get control. Oh, I can send her email, I could threaten her this and that to silence her. It's just, it carries on, unfortunately.
And no accountability, no accountability for their actions. And like you say, 100%, they think they're above the law. They think that the law is there for them.
They do.
Not for the public at large, just for them, just specifically
like
for them.
They're bodyguards or something. They're like VIP, and like the police are like their entourage. I don't even know. It's just quite insane. It's like even like when they file these false statements, stuff like they think sometimes the police don't catch on to things, and it's unfortunate because a lot of the time, we do have like a lot of like failures towards survivors, and I have been very open about it myself with certain like police forces. I've not been happy with the treatment myself, and it's like how many times does a victim need to put in complaints to the IPPOC or whatever. I probably filed like 26 complaints. Like it was insanity. It's like there shouldn't even be that in place just to have protection away from someone. It's crazy.
You're right, and you've touched on something there that's so important as well. And I know people when they listen will go, "Oh my God, 100%." Is we wonder why victims and survivors come across to agencies as being very frustrated, and you've just touched on it there, the police as an example. And if people can try and understand, you're not just dealing with the police, you're then dealing with maybe the family courts, with social services, with schools, with the counsellors, with the list goes on, housing, etc. It's all going on. And this person is very often repeating their story over and over and over again. And then they get questioned, well, why are you coming across like this? You're coming across as very aggressive. And you're like, they're not aggressive, they're fed up. They're absolutely devastated and frustrated.
It's actually a term, because I actually did a bit of research on this, because I actually reached out to my local MP to help me because I was so fed up of going through the cycle, telling housing, telling the police, telling X, Y, and Z what's going on. And it's actually second victimization, where someone is constantly like having to retell their story. And it gets to a point where, for me, I felt like it was really breaking down, like even my memory. Like I felt like I'm telling this, the truth so many times in like a cycle that it's kind of like I'm actually gonna just pass out at some point. I just won't have any memory.
I'll keep doing this.
I'll block it out. Like your brain will automatically block it out if it gets enough, and you're constantly repeating yourself. It's frustrating, and the amount of like emails I've had to send to the police, and to honestly, like I feel like as well during this time I've really had to learn how to be articulate, and how to like professionally write emails as well. Like I feel like how you come across as like a survivor and a victim is really make or break. Like if you your head, you'll be ignored straight away, because it's like raising your voice in argument. They'll automatically switch off. You have to educate yourself on the laws, unfortunately, like even though it's a bit of a boring task. But whenever I'd go into like the police and have some sort of report for like someone's action, I would always link the action back to a specific law, and I found like the most productive way to get anything across, because then they can't argue with you, because they think, oh, she's not actually just a normal civilian, or in my case I get like kind of titled a bimbo a little bit. It's like she's actually,
No, you're definitely not a bimbo. You are not someone to be messed with. I can
yeah,
guarantee that.
literally, I've turned into like a powerhouse, but beforehand, like even before all of this, I was such like a materialistic kind of girl. Like I still like the beauty treatments now, but I literally thrived off that, or like the nice holidays, the nice clothes. And when you're stripped away from all of that and you're left with like just knowledge and your voice, you really like delve into it, and it just awakens like a whole new chapter of yourself.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can't tell you how many pieces of advice you've given in this episode, right? But honestly, and you're 100% right. It's
Mhm.
and again, do you know what? I don't think this has ever been touched on in any of the episodes I've done, and I've been doing this now for a couple of years. And that idea around how you come across.
It's
It's
yeah,
so if people don't take anything else away from this episode other than that, I'm sure they'll take a lot away because there's a
it is.
lot to
Yeah,
listen to.
I've got
That
literally.
is it. That to me is the golden nugget is the second you are dealing with services, whatever that service may be, you need to hold your nerve. You need
Yeah,
to not go down the emotional route because no one's saying it's not emotional. No one's saying it's not the most horrendous, horrific experience that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. And
yeah,
your
like.
worst enemy is your abuser.
Yeah, you can cry. Like I've cried to the police so many times where I've called them and they won't listen to me and you burst into tears. It's like a normal human reaction. But when you kind of you scream and shout, you're feeding into the abuser's crazy
Yes.
ex.
Yeah,
So
of course, exactly. Yeah, you're
you
right. You're
know
100% right.
act and you know like the laws and the specific like psychology behind them and you're able to like label it for what it is. It makes it so easy to come across because as well like in yourself you know the facts, you know what's going on, and it makes it so much more easier to like convey it to somebody else.
And detaching. I know, it sounds easy to say it, but the more you detach from the emotion of the
um,
abuse, the more you detach the anger and everything else you feel. Nobody's saying get rid of that. That's there. That's your
yeah,
right to have that and be hurt. Of course, no one's saying bury it, but while you're dealing with these services, to detach from that and focus on the bigger picture, which is I need to speak to these services in a way that I'm not going to come across, like you just said, as a nutter or feed into what the abuser's saying is she's crazy, she's this, she's that. She needs psychologically assessing, all the things we've heard over the years,
yeah, I
over and
got
over.
up or scary wanted work.
Yeah, it's all just, it's like a tick box exercise for them. All these, they all went to the same school. I'm convinced of it.
I actually know. Well, yeah, I think they've got like a textbook somewhere because even like
Yeah,
the younger guys, like I'm seeing this behavior in like their teen years. Like I'm speaking to
yeah,
ex-girlfriends prior to me, and it's like it comes from somewhere. Like have they just
yeah.
got a book in like their school library or something? Because it's
That
coming
we
from,
don't know about.
yeah, literally it's coming from a really young age. Like maybe like they brought a school book fair in for guys
Yeah.
or something. But
How to be an abuser in 3 easy steps.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
It's
even
so true. Yeah.
like
But you're right. And I think especially when children, for anyone listening who has children, and I do get comments from people saying, obviously for them it's not just themselves having to concentrate on, they're worried about the children, is the second you take out the emotion again when you're dealing with things and no longer say kind of our children, it's more the children.
yeah,
Sounds really cold, but actually you're helping yourself because you're taking that emotion out. And the more you treat it like you're dealing with a business transaction or
yeah,
like in a professional capacity, then you are going to be able to handle things better. And also, like you say, educate yourself more, understand the law, understand what you're dealing with. Because for
exactly,
many people, they can't afford. A lot of people I speak to cannot afford to have legal representation.
yeah,
Many people are litigant in persons, and it's a scary place to be. And
yeah,
if you don't have people around you who understand the law, and we know that there's help out there, places like your community with Her Haven app,
yeah,
everybody's there to support, and you can find out information and learn from other people. But
exactly.
it is a scary place, and
It is.
it's so important to have things like Her Haven app. And I love the name, by the way. I don't know where you came up with it, but I do love that name.
I can't even remember either, to be fair. It was like such a long time ago. I was actually going to name it, I think it was going to be something generic like Safe Space at first. I thought, no,
Yeah,
I need to put like a girly touch on this. And even like the branding as well.
I
Like,
love the branding. Yeah,
honestly, like I was doing the branding whilst pregnant with like my child at the very start of this year. Like I honestly, it was my escapism. And I knew
yeah,
going forward that this is like what I wanted to do. But
yeah.
just like kind of putting ideas together. I didn't know how it even kind of evolved, and it just
Yeah.
did, because I had all this time and energy and love that I could pour back into myself, that it was able to birth something else. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing. And you come across so eloquently as well. I have to tell
Oh,
you that you do. You come across so, and it's brilliant because, it's obvious I'm a lot older than you. A lot older. I'm approaching 50. You're in your lovely younger years, and you.
yeah,
But it just proves having this conversation for anybody who's listening, who's maybe approaching 50, like myself, in a couple of years, or somebody who's in their 20s, or that you can talk to people. It doesn't matter, we can cross
yeah,
over those generational barriers, if you like,
yeah,
and share something that we can all understand. And even
yeah,
though experiences are always going to be slightly different because it's your experience and how you react to things, it's all very unique to you. But there are threads, just like with the perpetrator when they have their own textbook, tick box
yeah,
exercise. Victims and survivors also have a lot in common and a lot they can share and say, yes,
yeah,
I experienced that. And
yeah,
so it doesn't matter what age you are, you can
yeah.
talk to people. You don't have to, it's the one place probably where we can all talk, and it doesn't really matter what age you are.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, even because I'm still currently in my safe house until I don't know when, but
Yeah.
I also have like a housemate, and she's about like 58 years old, and I've honestly bonded with her so much, and the stories she comes out with as well are just so amazing. And even like the other day, she said to me, like, I'm just glad to speak to you, like I'm just glad to talk, because I think as well, like in other generations, there was kind of that difference in you can't talk, and then having somebody to talk,
Yes.
it's so valuable. Whereas like for me, like, and in this upcoming generation, we've got social media, like we are going on social media, we are exposing the abuses, which obviously comes hand in hand with like counterclaims and whatnot. But we are like kind of, we are using our voice a bit more, whereas beforehand there was a lot more conditioning on, not talking, being, the bigger person. And I honestly feel like sometimes being the bigger person is just kind of a cop out for them to behave
Yeah.
with no accountability. And we kind of
Yeah.
get to the point where we're just fed up. And I always say to like even the women in my community, your voice is your biggest weapon, and you have to know how to use it. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
when you are left with nothing but your voice, you see how important that is. And even like raising awareness, or you don't have to speak about your own story, but always kind of like touching base. And even if it's like sharing other people's stories, it's honestly
Yeah.
the best way to get like the ball rolling, because abuse thrives in silence. And
It
with
does. It absolutely does. And the more,
yeah,
you are right. And the more we come together, the more we realize that there is that commonality between experiences, and to say, actually, we can all help each other.
yeah,
And and we are stronger when we're together. And like you say, so many voices have been silenced for so long because
yeah.
it's, who's going to believe me? Victim blaming. Well,
Got
you
married,
stayed.
well, like 27 years of
Yeah.
marriage. That's a
Yeah.
lot of, like,
Yeah.
trauma damage that's caused.
Hugely. And you know how many people, and I did an episode actually, with a lady called Dr. Aisha Ahmed, about Bangladeshi women. So
Yeah,
various faiths, whether you're Roman Catholic, whether you're Muslim, whatever your faith, that is going to have an impact on how you leave a relationship, if you leave a relationship that's abusive. It's not always that straightforward. And it's all those additional layers that society just doesn't see that makes it so complicated for people.
yeah,
And yet all the different elements of people's lives, it all comes down to the fact that speaking out is the answer.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Find as well, I was having this conversation with my mum, because she's actually half Jamaican, so I've got a bit of like a mixed background
That's
myself.
where the gorgeous dark locks come
That's
from. Oh, beautiful.
yeah, literally, like, well, I did dye my hair a few weeks ago, but I've got really thick hair. I do get it from my
Do.
mum's side, honestly. But yeah, we were like having a good conversation the other day, and we said like, how can we kind of now start to tackle like abuse with like minorities? Because I
Yeah.
do have that kind of knowledge and that upbringing of even like my mum telling me like black women are conditioned to be strong powerhouses, and they kind of like get on with things, and they're very hyper independent, and it's like it shouldn't be that way. So it's now kind of making sure that others are aware of her haven. Especially, I do really want to touch on like the black community, Asian community as well. It's for everybody. Literally, it's I think the word is like all inclusive.
It is.
Yeah,
You're right. It is.
I
It is. All that. Yeah.
yeah,
Main
what
community, all the communities that,
exactly.
feel left
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, because my mum, obviously, she is a black woman. Like I'm white presenting, but she's a black woman, and I have, black cousins. My youngest brother, he's, clearly like mixed as well, and it's like I want to also be a service for them too. Like
Yeah.
I want there to be like a difference in society, and I don't want them to feel like they can't reach out for help, they can't join these communities.
Yeah.
So it really is for everybody, and there is just kind of like this kind of narrative where they can't speak out, unfortunately. So it is kind of finding a way to tackle that. So yeah.
Yeah. And you will, and you will. And you know what? If somebody's listening now and they think, oh my God, that's me, I'm from that
Yeah,
community, then they can reach out, they can
exactly.
find you. And what I'll do as well is I'll put in the details of where they can find you on Instagram, all those kind of things, and find the app
Yeah.
and find out a bit more about you. But Ebony, you've just been an absolute joy.
Oh, thank you.
Joy.
I
You
do
know
love
what?
that.
I always think it's really weird when I say to people afterwards, I'm like, I've just smiled through that whole episode. We're talking about abuse. We're talking
I
about
know, but
domestic abuse.
no, I don't want it to be all like, rain
Yeah,
and thunderstorms. Like there is
yeah,
actually like a beauty in like even my own story, like turning pain into purpose, like, getting up and going, do you know what? We don't have to be like this anymore. We don't have to, be silent because it upsets the police or it upsets these like,
yeah,
these misogynistic systems in place. We need to like, start making a change. And if we want to have change, we have to become the change that we want to see. And hopefully in the future, as I've got so many plans, like even with reproductive coercion, like making sure that pregnant women are more safeguarded to know that they have control over their own anatomy rather than like
yes.
taking it away. But
Yeah.
there's so many more things I really want to go on and like change
Mm. So
laws.
what we're saying is you're going to come back on and do another episode and give us an update
And
next
be
year.
an MBE or something.
Seriously, I'll support you.
Yeah, literally.
Oh,
I just would love it. And I think it's power in numbers, really. So the more of us that do go, do you know what? I'm not being silent. I'm going to speak. The better and the easier it is to push that forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And with that, I cannot thank you enough. And thank you so much for joining.
Where